Question: should President Joe Biden be impeached for potentially starting World War III? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Yes, we should impeach Joe Biden, or no. Well, take a look at this, you guys. Coming out today, U.S. Congressman urges to impeach Biden for allowing strikes deep into Russia. Now, this came out yesterday, the 19th, as there's now legislation saying that Biden authorizing these long-range missiles to strike inside of Russia. Biden is committing an unconstitutional act of war and endangering the lives of U.S. citizens. As we have heard, this could lead to World War III. Now, the only issue with this, of course, is that if he is impeached, this is going to be leaving Kamala Harris in charge of the United States. And if we do enter into World War III, then that could postpone the transition of power from the current administration to Donald Trump. And that means Kamala Harris would be our president during a time of war. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, if that wasn't enough, take a look. He is doubling down. Biden administration approved sending anti-personnel mines to Ukraine in another major policy shift. This coming out today that we had heard that he had approved those missiles being fired by Ukraine into Russia. Take a look here. Ukraine fires U.S.-made ATACMS missiles into Russia after the ban was lifted by Biden. They said that this was starting World War III. Now today we are hearing that he has approved those anti-personnel mines as well, doubling down. First such use of missiles came only hours after Vladimir Putin lowered Moscow's threshold for using nuclear weapons. And there is major concern right now. Nuclear war. World War III is all over the headlines across the world right now, as they are saying we are closer than we have ever been. There have been lots of talks and concerns about it, but they're saying there are red lines that have now been crossed, and that is why headlines coming out like this. Could Biden's Ukraine missile move trigger World War III? Experts' verdicts, and they are saying yes, we are closer than we have ever been. Now, take a look at that. It is continuing on. Coming out today, Ukraine fires UK-made Storm Shadow missiles at targets inside of Russia for the first time. Russia-Ukraine war updates live. Guardian understands missiles have been used for the first time the day after U.S.-made missiles hit Russian targets. So yesterday, we saw U.S. ATACMS being fired into Russia. Russia saying that the country that allowed this and the missiles that they came from would be held accountable. That is the United States. Now we're hearing today that is happening with the UK as well. So Russia being fired on again. Now, this is causing, as I mentioned, major concern globally that we could be entering into a major conflict, World War III. And take a look at this. Nordic neighbors release new advice on surviving war. They are handing out pamphlets to their citizens, telling them to stock up on food, water, supplies, things for your children, have at least 1 week's worth of supplies ready because we could be entering into war. And again, they are holding Joe Biden accountable for this decision. He is the one that initiated this just in the past couple of days. And that is why we are hearing these calls for his impeachment, saying that he is starting World War III. Again, let me know your thoughts. Should Biden be impeached, yes or no? However, the only problem with that is that could usher in Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. Take a look at this now. Vladimir Putin is reportedly open to a ceasefire talk with Donald J. Trump, but demands that Ukraine drop NATO bid and give up land. Russia's terms for a ceasefire with Trump: no NATO for Ukraine, territorial concessions, and security guarantees, sources say, and you can see this coming out today. So I'm going to be sharing with you the latest information that is coming out with this, as we are hearing that Joe Biden has now doubled down with an additional approval of things that are escalating the conflict with Russia. People are saying, what is going on with Joe Biden right now? Essentially ushering in World War III just a little while before he's about to leave office and Donald Trump is about to come in. It seems like he is ramping up, trying to start World War III at this time. And a lot of people I've heard vocalize this, that he's trying to cause major escalation and conflict prior to him leaving office. Literally weeks, months left, and crossing the lines that have been drawn that we had heard from Russia and other nations would spark World War III, nuclear conflict, major escalations, and you can see across the headlines and around the world, they are saying these are major policy shifts that are very aggressive and provocative. I shared with you yesterday headlines coming out from all over the world, and all of them read, Joe Biden is starting World War III. He is coming and poking the bear, stepping on the toes of Vladimir Putin, doing exactly what it was he was asked not to do, and at a time when we're hearing that Donald Trump is about to come in and attempt to de-escalate the situation. Vladimir Putin and also Volodymyr Zelensky both saying they are open to negotiation talks specifically with Donald Trump, and Joe Biden taking very aggressive moves, pivoting here very strongly. And again, let me know your thoughts. Now, maybe Joe Biden shouldn't be impeached because if he is, as I mentioned, this could be the ushering in of Kamala Harris into the presidency. And if we enter into war, that could be a delay of a transition of power, or it could be Kamala Harris handing over the presidency to Donald Trump in the worst potential situation as we are in the middle of World War III. But should he be held accountable for these actions? What is this man thinking? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Should he be held accountable for this? If so, drop a yes. If no, put a no. But a lot of people right now, all over the world, vocalizing World War III is closer than it has ever been. Nuclear war warnings coming out, pamphlets being held in the hands of citizens of entire nations, warning them to stock up on food, water, supplies. So I'm going to get you caught up on the latest so that way you know exactly what's going on. I've got video footage, and these articles are going to be linked in the description below that have been coming out in roughly the last 24 hours. And I see people saying, yes, Biden needs to be held accountable. What is this guy doing? And I actually saw posts on X as well. People posting on X with a message to Vladimir Putin and to the people of Russia saying, listen, Joe Biden is not representing the people of this nation. The people of America do not want war and World War III and nuclear conflict. Please understand and take into consideration. Please be patient with the fact that we have somebody here that is doing something that is completely off the rails that we do not support. We do not want conflict, nuclear war, and World War III. Please take that into consideration. I saw this on X. I think it was from Charlie Kirk, and I've seen several people post this saying, what is Joe Biden doing? And people are now calling for his impeachment. Get him out with what is taking place. So let's go ahead and dive right in and get you caught up on this as, yeah, they are calling to remove him. But we will see if anything takes place, what's going on. Now, the justification coming out from Joe Biden on this was the fact that North Korea was sending over troops to support Russia in the battle against Ukraine. So as a result, Joe Biden said that if they're receiving additional support, we will provide additional support to Ukraine by allowing them to use long-range missiles to strike into Russia. And within, I think it was roughly 24 hours, we saw Volodymyr Zelensky take advantage of this and strike. Now, we have heard that things have escalated significantly as the U.S. provided permissions, also provided the missiles. Russia saying that the United States will be held accountable. Now, it went even a step further today, as I mentioned, as now we are hearing that Joe Biden has approved them having those anti-personnel mines given to Ukraine, so that way if Russian soldiers come over, they have mines set in place. And today, Ukraine now sending over UK missiles into Russia. So things are escalating in the last 48 hours significantly. Things have just essentially taken off from where they were just a few days ago. And that is why now we are seeing these calls to impeach Joe Biden, remove him from office, get him out. The only problem with that is that at this point in time, if we do that, that is going to be essentially, we're in the middle of starting World War III and a transition from Joe Biden to Kamala Harris. Jordy, thank you for the $5 super chat. Hi, Steve. Are you expecting to see significant escalation from Russia over the next 72 hours? Jordy, we will see. Now, I did share with you yesterday that we did hear a response back from Russia and Vladimir Putin as they had said that they are ready to escalate things to nuclear war. They've changed their nuclear doctrine. And I shared with you, there are a lot of people that are saying this is very significant. We've never been this far along or this close to nuclear war ever in our history. And very concerning. Without a doubt, tensions are extremely high, and Joe Biden is making them even more tense. However, some experts are saying that this is just posturing by Vladimir Putin and Russia, that this is just them essentially flexing, but they don't want to get into a position of war at this time, and they're hopefully going to be looking for a diplomatic way out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, we will see, and either way, like I said, I will keep you up to date here on the channel. But let's go ahead and dive in. I see a lot of people pouring in their thoughts. I see people mentioning that we need to draw closer to the Lord. I see Patricia saying that. I see Liberated Soul saying impeach Joe Biden. XDM is saying that this is the end. So I'm going to dive into the articles. These are going to be linked in the description below, and some video footage for you as well, so that way you can see the latest. Now, if you appreciate that, do me a favor, take a second before we dive in, hit the like button. Just takes a quick second, just one tap of that helps spread this out, so that way more people can go ahead and get the latest information. Also, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not? I'll keep you up to speed on everything, cite all the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it, so that way you know that it is the latest, and I will keep you up to date. So just hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. I will also get rid of spammers in the comments. There we go. See you later, Prater Mind. And also, in addition to that, pinned in the comments, you will see Cancel Woke Insurance. I have joined with a group that is taking out certain things that don't align with Christian, patriotic, conservative beliefs out of medical insurance provided. And as a result, they're saying that they can provide a lot of people with more affordable insurance coverage. So all you got to do is click the link, enter in your information. You will get a quote in seconds. And it's totally free to get a quote. And you can just go ahead and see if it's any more affordable than what you're getting, and know that this particular group is a share group that does not support things that end the lives of children before they are born, and it also doesn't support the changing of one's gender. If you think that you're something else, they don't approve of that. So this particular share group does not pay for or support those things, but they do pay for all of your regular medical needs that you might need for you and your family. And all you got to do is fill out the form that you're a believer, you're a patriot, you believe in the United States, and you can get a free quote, and it takes just seconds. And if it's any more affordable, cheaper, hey, it could work out great. I'm actually paying less every single month now, less than half of what I was before when I was using my former insurance. And my deductible is 3 times less than it was. And I have the comfort of knowing that I am not supporting things that don't align with my personal beliefs. So wanted to make that available to anybody that is interested. That's going to be pinned in the comments. So far, I'm loving it. And if you're interested, go ahead and check it out. But let's go ahead and get right to it, you guys. And let's start off with some video footage as to what Biden has now approved today. This is new information coming out, so you can see it for yourself. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Landmines for Ukraine. America will also send more than $275 million worth of new weapons over there. Retired 4-star General Jack Keane makes another welcome appearance here in New York. General, it seems to me, and you're the expert here, seems to me that everybody's maneuvering in advance of peace talks in Ukraine. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, certainly there's some truth to that. I mean, the reality is that when President Trump confronts Putin as President of the United States, not directly, but starts to deal with him in formulating policies, he's going to find that Putin is somewhat different than what he was in 2016 to 2020. He's a wartime commander now. He's got his economy on a war footing. He's absolutely determined to take all of Ukraine. He's frustrated that it didn't happen in a couple of weeks. His domestic population was stunned by that. And now everybody in Russia is paying some kind of a price for this war because their economy has gone down further. Nowhere near what we wanted to do with imposing sanctions. So that is stage one there. The second thing is certainly, I think President Biden, what he is doing is trying to get all of these weapons in there much faster and additional weapons that they wanted. I mean, it's pretty sad commentary.
He should have done it earlier, shouldn't he?
Oh, my God. Yeah, the first year of the war, when the Ukrainians showed us that they can really fight these guys, the Russians weren't as good as we thought. The Ukrainians were a hell of a lot better than we thought. Give them the stuff. And the reality is we did not.
Well, now we've given them permission to use long-range missiles, and we're giving them landmines. Could that be good for Trump? Because those are bargaining chips. He can withdraw that in any talks that's coming up in the future.
Well, you know, this thing about anti-mines, what's really going on here? They have the potential to cause civilian casualties if they wander into a mined area. But these are bona fide weapons of war. And the reality is that all of our weapons of war that fire anything at distance do cause civilian casualties. Even we cause them, or Ukrainians cause them, despite the fact we don't want to. Bombs, rockets and missiles, even artillery. And those casualties are far greater than what would be achieved by these mines. And listen, so our audience understands, these are our anti-personnel mines. They have on them devices that if they set the timer, if it doesn't go off initially in the time that they want it to, pending the attack, the mines will self-destruct. Or they have a battery that will shut them down. Okay. So this is what we put into it, knowing full well that we can use this to minimize casualties ourselves and protect people on the battlefield. The anti-mine group is still possessed about this, and they're going after it. But they just don't listen to the facts. You know, they're value-based activists and keep pushing.
We have reports that the Iranians have sharply increased their stockpile of nuclear fuel. You think there's a possibility that they're going to make a dash to get a bomb?
Yeah, they're at the threshold level right now, and experts say they just have to increase it within a couple of weeks, and they would be in a position to weaponize. But then the weaponization of a bomb, to be able to use it, to deliver it in some means, that would take some months. I think it's unlikely, in my judgment, that given the Trump administration is coming in, that Iran would move from the threshold where they are to actually weaponization. Every president, since Iran professed interest in so-called developing nuclear civil power, which was always a nuclear weapon, has declared we will not permit Iran to have a weapon, and if we have to use force, we'll use it. I think the Iranians fear President Trump. They know full well he's going to slap maximum sanctions on them, and he's going to push back on them, and I think privately he's going to have some red lines with them. He doesn't like that term, but you got to stop doing X, Y, and Z, or the situation is going to get worse for you.
General Jack Keane, a favorite guest of ours, and thanks very much for being with us.
Great being here.
Always appreciate it.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think that Iran is afraid of Donald Trump? Do you think these other nations are afraid of Trump? Let me know your thoughts. If you think they are, drop a 1 in the comments. If you think they're not, put a 2. But we've been hearing this coming out. They're calling it the Trump effect. Do you think the Trump effect is in full effect? Right? If you think so, drop a 1. Do you think that Donald Trump is going to be able to help de-escalate the situation with Russia and Ukraine? Or is it too far gone? If you think he's going to be able to come in and implement the Trump effect, go ahead and put a 1. If you think no, put a 2. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I see those 1s and those 2s coming in. Steve, how's it going? Thank you for supporting the channel. And Gary as well. Monique, I see those stars next to the names. Thank you for hitting the join button, supporting the channel with those monthly contributions. I appreciate it a ton. Also, don't forget, while you're dropping those 1s, all I see is 1s. People believe that Donald Trump is going to have the Trump effect. Hit that like button if you haven't done so yet. One more like literally gets us to 700 likes while we are live. 2,236 people live with me in the room. Now, let's take a look at this as I'm sharing with you that people are saying, impeach Joe Biden, get him out of here, hold him accountable for all this, as literally around the world right now, people are saying that he is starting World War III. Now, take a look at this coming out from Thomas Massey. U.S. Congressman urges to impeach Joe Biden for allowing strikes deep into Russia. This coming out yesterday, November the 19th. By authorizing long-range missiles to strike inside of Russia, Biden is committing a constitutional act of war that endangers the lives of all U.S. citizens. And not only U.S. citizens, but the entire world. We're hearing NATO, Ukraine, several nations very concerned right now. Switzerland, Finland, various nations handing out pamphlets warning their citizens to prepare for war. We're also hearing that Russia is preparing bomb shelters at this time. So there's some people that are saying that they feel like Russia is bluffing at this time. But if they're bluffing, keep in mind the fact that right now they're preparing bomb shelters for their own citizens. Massive containers that are supposed to be radioactive proof, support them from nuclear blasts, be able to hide at least 50 people inside of these. They're spreading these around Russia right now. So they are taking the necessary precautions. And people are saying we need to hold Joe Biden accountable for starting World War III. Take a look at this. Coming out yesterday, November the 19th, U.S. President Joe Biden's permission to allow Kiev to attack deep into Russia contradicts the American Constitution. The U.S. leader must be impeached. U.S. Congressman Thomas Massey, a Republican representative from the state of Kentucky, has said, by authorizing the long-range missiles to strike inside of Russia, Biden is committing an unconstitutional act of war that endangers the lives of all U.S. citizens. This is an impeachable offense. But the reality is that he's an emasculated puppet of a deep state, the congressman wrote on X page, commenting on media reports about Biden allowing attacks with American ATACMS missiles deep into Russian territory. The New York Times reported on November 17th, citing sources that the U.S. President Joe Biden had authorized the use of U.S.-supplied ATACMS tactical ballistic missiles for strikes inside of Russia. Francis Le Figaro newspaper, in turn, said that the Paris and London, that they had granted similar permissions for the use of their Scalp and Storm Shadow missile, respectively. The newspaper later removed the article from its website without explanation. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot stated that Paris had not changed its stance on strikes deep inside of Russia. The German government confirmed that the United States had informed Berlin of the decision to authorize strikes inside of Russia. And also, if you missed it, I shared with you that we had heard that today Ukraine has launched UK missiles as well, so things are escalating. Mavs, thank you for the $5 super chat. Biden and Kamala are puppets of Obama, and all of these are all parts of their plans to bring America to hell with them. Wow, let me know your thoughts. And yeah, that was one of the major concerns, is that the fact that if we do hold Biden accountable and impeach him at this time, well, who's going to be taking his place? It's going to be Kamala Harris. And if he is starting World War III right now, could that be an issue with the transition of power? I've heard a lot of people vocalize that while we're in the middle of a global conflict, that we could delay the transition of power, which means Kamala Harris would be our wartime president for who knows how long before it gets handed back over to Donald Trump. Let me know your thoughts on this. Could this be what is going on? I've heard a lot of people speculating sabotage. Now, as I mentioned, Joe Biden justifying his actions, saying that the reason why he did this was because North Korean troops were being sent to Russia, and since Russia was getting additional support, so also should Ukraine by allowing them to use those long-range missiles. However, this is a very, very aggressive response towards the end of his presidency. Now, in addition to that, we're hearing that they are permitting anti-personnel mines to be sent to Ukraine. This is also a major policy shift. I'm going to be looking at that here in just a second so you can see it. But they're saying that this is in response to the fact that Russia is changing their strategy in the attacks that are currently taking place. And they are saying that they are going to start walking over across the border, as before it was tanks. They had anti-tank mines. Now they have anti-personnel mines, because they're saying that Russia is currently changing the strategy. So therefore, Ukraine needs to change as well. And the permissions for Ukraine from the United States are changing. But they're saying that these are very provocative, escalatory changes that are currently taking place, which is why now we're hearing all across the world, they're saying that Biden is starting World War III. And now also we are hearing that they are saying impeach Joe Biden for starting World War III. Now, it says the top EU diplomat, Joseph Borrell, confirmed that the U.S. administration had lifted the restrictions for U.S.-supplied missiles to be used for strikes up to 300 kilometers inside of Russia. He noted that the issue had been discussed at an EU foreign ministers meeting, but the parties had failed to make a common decision to lift the restrictions, ruling that every member state would decide for itself. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov recalled that Moscow's position on the Ukrainian strikes by U.S. missiles deep into Russian territory was clearly and unambiguously formulated by Russian President Vladimir Putin back in September. According to him, this decision means a qualitatively new round of escalation and tensions. And that is why right now we are seeing headlines coming out everywhere saying that Biden is essentially starting World War III. Now, those are the calls that are coming out to have Joe Biden impeached, removed from office for sparking a global conflict, escalating tensions right before we're about to see a change in power But take a look at this coming out today as well. He is doubling down. Biden is doubling down. Biden administration approves sending anti-personnel mines to Ukraine in another major policy shift. This article says the Biden administration today, we're hearing, has approved sending anti-personnel mines to Ukraine for the first time in another major policy shift. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin confirmed it on Wednesday today. The decision comes just days after the U.S. gave Ukraine permission to fire long-range U.S. missiles at targets in Russia, a shift that only occurred after months of lobbying from Kiev. The U.S. intends for Kiev to use the anti-personnel mines in the eastern part of the country, U.S. officials said, where Russian troops have made slow and steady progress against Ukrainian defensive lines. Now, the grinding battle has cost Moscow tremendously, with Ukraine claiming Russia suffered its highest number of casualties this week. But Russia's unrelenting pressure, coupled with shortages in Ukrainian manpower and ammunitions, has allowed the Russian military to gradually seize more territory. Austin told reporters on Wednesday today that the decision was motivated by Russia's changing tactics on the front line. So again, they are saying that Russia is changing their strategy, and therefore the United States needs to change their position and stances on various defense items. Because the Russians have been so unsuccessful in the way that they have been fighting, they've kind of changed their tactics a bit, Austin said to reporters in Laos. They don't lead with their mechanized forces anymore. They lead with dismounted forces who are able to close and do things to kind of pave the way for mechanized forces, he explained. Austin said Ukraine's military needs things that can help slow down that effort. The U.S. expects Ukraine to use these anti-personnel mines to bolster defensive lines within sovereign Ukrainian territory, not as an offensive capability in Russia. The U.S. has also sought assurance that Ukraine will try to limit the risks of civilians from these mines. The administration's decision was first reported by the Washington Post. Since the early days of the war, the U.S. has provided Ukraine with anti-tank mines to blunt Russia's numerical superiority in armored vehicles. But until now, the Biden administration had not provided Ukraine with anti-personnel mines over concerns about the enduring dangers that they may pose. Human rights groups have long criticized the use of anti-personnel mines because they can end the lives indiscriminately of anybody and can remain armed for years after the conflict in which they were initially used has ended. Now, in June of 2022, 4 months after the start of the war in Ukraine, the Biden administration pledged to limit the use of anti-personnel mines in announcing the decision, which was a reversal from the earlier Trump administration. The White House said that there was a need to curtail the use of anti-personnel mines worldwide. The U.S. said that it would no longer develop or export anti-personnel mines and would work to destroy all of its existing stockpile. The one exception to the policy was South Korea. The announcement of the anti-personnel mines for Ukraine, especially only weeks left in the Biden administration, is a sudden change of what had been a long-standing policy. So again, we are seeing some major shifts here right as Biden is about to exit, and that is likely why we are seeing these calls right now for people saying, hey, impeach Joe Biden. The type of mines that the U.S. provides to Ukraine will be non-persistent, according to the officials, meaning that they have an internal mechanism to shorten the lifespan of the trigger. The mines are designed to become inert after a set period of time ranging from as little as 4 hours to 2 weeks, the officials said. The mines use an electrical fuse that requires a battery, and the mine becomes inert when the battery runs out. Russia has deployed anti-personnel mines and anti-tank mines since the earliest days of the war. As Russian forces advance into Ukraine and establish their own defensive lines, they established manfields to slow any Ukraine counterattack. Last summer, as Ukrainian forces mounted an ultimately unsuccessful counteroffensive, one Ukrainian official described the destiny of Russian mines as insane. So, there you have it. This coming out literally today, that the Biden administration has now approved sending anti-personnel mines to Ukraine in another major policy shift just after we saw them approve the use of U.S. long-range ATACMS missiles into Russia. So Joe Biden doubling down on his stance for Ukraine, pushing forward in what people are saying is the beginning of World War III, and that is likely why we are seeing this. People calling to impeach Joe Biden, as they are saying that he is provoking World War III right as he is about to leave office. And I see Creola Queen saying impeach them both and put Trump in place immediately. If you agree with her, drop a 47 in the comments for Donald Trump. If you agree, we need to get him out, get Kamala out, and get Donald in there absolutely right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you think that we need to get Trump in there, that he would do a better job. As I mentioned earlier, they were saying that it was the Trump effect that could take place, as we had heard that Vladimir Putin said that he is open to negotiations with Donald Trump. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. There's the 47s just pouring in left and right. Now, do me a favor. I see we've got 2,400 people live with me almost. Take a second, hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. If you appreciate the updates, 6 more likes literally gets us to 1,100 likes while we're live. I would appreciate it a ton. And I see people putting no Kamala. People saying get him out. Get Biden and Harris out now, says Spirit Moves. People are saying that they do not want the current administration in there any longer. Things are getting pretty tense right now with the way things are. Now, this comes as I shared with you. We had seen those U.S.-made ATACMS missiles fired by Ukraine into Russia. Joe Biden had lifted the ban. And in addition to that, we had also heard that at the same time that is taking place, Putin has said that they have changed their nuclear doctrine, lowering the standards for which they will justify the use of nuclear weapons. So we are closer than we have ever been before right now to potential all-out nuclear war and conflict, which is why we're seeing the headlines coming out all over the world. I shared this with you last night. All over the entire world, people are saying Biden is provoking World War III and nuclear war. And in addition to that, we are seeing, following in their footsteps, the UK. Ukraine today has fired UK-made Storm Shadow missiles at targets inside of Russia for the first time. Let's take a look at this. UK-made Storm Shadow missiles fired into Russia for the first time. Let's see here. Ukraine has fired UK-made Storm Shadow missiles into Russia for the first time since the beginning of the conflict, The Guardian understands, according to multiple sources. The decision to approve the strikes was made in response to the deployment of more than 10,000 North Korean troops on Russia's border with Ukraine in what UK and US officials have warned was a major escalation of a nearly 3-year-old conflict. So the United States and the UK justifying this move, saying that North Korea joining Russia is a major escalatory move, and this is a response to that. But the entire world saying that what has just unfolded with the use of these missiles is going to be taking us to World War III. The Guardian earlier this week reported that the UK would soon approve Storm Shadow missiles for use inside Russia after U.S. President Joe Biden agreed to do the same for the similar American ATACMS weapons. It was not immediately clear what Ukraine used the Storm Shadow missiles to target. Unconfirmed images distributed via the Telegram messaging app appeared to show fragments of the missiles at a location with the Kursk region. One weapons expert, Trevor Ball, formerly of the U.S. Army, said the images circulating did show Storm Shadow fragments, though he could verify if they were current or old pictures. Though he could verify, so I think they meant though he could not verify. The strike came one day after Ukraine used U.S.-supplied missiles to strike targets in the Bryansk region. Western officials have indicated that they're specifically targeting the North Korean buildup in the region, as well as infrastructure that may be used for a 50,000-strong offensive against Ukrainian incursions into the region. Vladimir Putin has warned that the use of U.S. and UK-made missiles inside of Russia's border would be tantamount to NATO entering into a direct conflict with Moscow. So we have heard these warnings for quite some time, and people are saying nuclear war, World War III, major concerns right now. So I know a lot of people have vocalized, we've been hearing this for quite some time, nothing's going on, it's the same thing over and over. Well, no, what has unfolded in the past couple of days has definitely shifted things significantly. And in addition to that, take a look at this. If you missed it, I shared this with you yesterday when it came out. We're hearing that Nordic neighbors are releasing new advice on surviving war. They're handing out pamphlets to their citizens telling them to stock up on food, water, supplies, things for your children. On Monday, millions of Swedes will start receiving copies of a pamphlet advising populations on how to prepare and cope in the event of war or another unexpected crisis. In case of crisis or war, has been updated from 6 years ago because of what the government in Stockholm calls the worsening security situation, by which it means Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The booklet is also twice the size. Neighboring Finland has also just published its own fresh advice online, preparing for incidents and crises. And Norwegians have also recently received pamphlets urging them to be prepared to manage on their own for a week in the event of extreme weather, war, or other threats. And let me know in the comments, are you preparing right now? I always say here on the channel, don't be scared, be prepared. We need to be aware of what's going on. Don't put our heads in the sand and pretend like nothing is taking place. We need to be aware because I believe that knowledge is power, but I believe the application of knowledge is the true power. If you know something is going to happen, you need to prepare for it. The proverb says that the wise man, he's walking along his way, he sees calamity in his path, and he changes his path. The simple see that there is calamity coming their way, and they just keep walking along, and they fall into calamity. They fall into this situation. So I always say here on the channel, the purpose of this is not to be frightened, not to be scared, but it is to let you be aware of what's taking place and then to prepare as you see necessary for you and your family. So down below in the description, I've got several items available that you can go ahead and check out. I've got a free guide on what to do if power grids go down. We've also got medical kits at lifesavervault.com, and I've got an assortment of Amazon links. Click any of the links, go check out all the stuff on Amazon, start stocking up if you feel necessary, and maybe just buy some extra food, extra water. Now, these various European nations are saying a week's worth of supply. I personally don't know that that is enough. I would suggest a lot more. I've heard a lot of people say at least 3 months because I know we've had hurricanes here in Houston and the power's been out longer than a week just from a hurricane, let alone if we go into a major all-out global war and conflict. So whatever the case is, though, I will keep you guys up to date. Resources linked down below. And also, as I mentioned, if you do not support the ending of the lives of young children before they're born, if you also do not support young children saying that they want to switch from maybe being a boy to a girl or a girl to a boy, you don't want to pay for that in your medical coverage, I have pinned in the comments canceling your woke insurance a link, and again, check it out. They're able to lower the cost because there are certain things that they do not support. So if you have morals or beliefs that align with things that are, if you don't support those things, check them out. What you can do too is it's totally free quote. Click the link. It'll populate a quote for you based on the answers you put in. Just takes a minute. And if it's more affordable, hey, consider switching over to this share group for your medical coverage for your family. And know that you also won't be supporting things that are supported by the major insurance medical companies. So wanted to provide that with you guys. I'm doing it myself and I'm loving it so far. It's saved me a ton of money already. And I've enjoyed it. So when you put in that info too, they'll contact you in 24 hours, give you any information for any questions you got. Just wanted to make that available for anybody interested. So we will see. I will keep you up to date here on the channel. If Joe Biden is impeached, I saw the vast majority of the people in the room said they think that Joe Biden should be held accountable for right now escalating potential war just before he is about to transition out. The only problem with that is that if he's impeached, well, then that's going to be ushering in Kamala Harris as the next president. Most people vocalizing here on the channel anyways that they don't want to see that. And if we're entering into World War III, there could be a delay in the transition of power, which means that Kamala Harris would be our wartime president if Joe Biden is impeached. So we will see, though. I will keep you guys up to date here on the channel and keep you up to speed on everything that's taking place. So that is the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for smashing that like button. One more gets us to 1,350 likes while we're live. Subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not? And I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.